Rev up your engines!
Well, here's one for you. Devin 8778 rented a car, and the idiots didn't put the oil cap back on when they serviced the car at the car rental place, which happened to be Alamo. And they're driving on the road, and they said every time we stop, we smell fumes and oil and burning. And then they open the hood, and there's oil everywhere, and they see the oil cap is upside down and not screwed on. They didn't even put it on. This is what I tell people. I'm not a fan of buying rental cars. A lot of people, they sell them when they're over and, I'll buy a rental car. The idiots that they have maintaining them, they didn't put the oil cap on. But to add insult to injury, they contacted Alamo, and as they said, they told us it was up to us to call to find a replacement mid-size SUV in our area. But nobody had anything available. So we just put the cap back on and thought, well, we'll drive the thing. We drove it that way. The oil was full. And when I rent a car, I walk around the car with my phone, take a video, because one time I was in Nashville. The guy renting the car says, oh, don't worry about anything. We don't care about any problems. Look, our little scratches, right? Then I brought it back and I said, you cracked the windshield. Now you got to buy us a new windshield. I said, that crack was there before. Oh, no, it wasn't. It's not on the sheet that says that the guy was supposed to look at it and tell you. He said there was nothing wrong, right? It wasn't on the sheet. Yeah, well, I took a video, walked around. I said, okay, here we go. So I zoomed in on it. There's the crack. Crack was there when I rented it. I didn't think so far as opening the hood and looking inside, but maybe that's a good idea to open the hood, take a picture of that too. Who knows? You see anything odd, especially a dent or a ding, take a picture of it. Have a date stamp on your phone, then you can say the ding was there before. You can't trust anybody these days. In this case, hey, at least they were smart enough. They put the cap back on and it was smelly, but it still ran. It was still full of oil. He checked the oil. It didn't lose that much oil, but it made a mess under the hood. And he's got pictures proving that it was that way when he got it too. So maybe you listen to him and not rent a car from companies that have flunkies working on their cars. Turnout says, I got a starting running question. Got a 93 Camry. It starts fine when it's cold, but when it's hot, I got to start it 4 or 5 times. Then I have to rev it up and that runs fine. What could be wrong? Well, it's an old car. It's a 93, right? So you're talking about what? 31-year-old car. It's old. Now, what's probably happening is, odds are it's flooding out. When your engine is cold and you start a cold engine, the computer automatically sprays extra gasoline because the cold engine needs extra fuel, so it'll start. But once your car's hot, it's got to run real lean and have a lot less fuel. Well, when you park the car after you drive it and it's hard to start and then you got to rev it up, the engine is probably flooded out. You probably have leaking fuel injectors or a leaking fuel pressure regulator. The engine's flooded when it's hot. You try to start it, it won't start, floor it, and then it should start. And then when it starts, you rev it up a little, that clears the gas out and then it runs okay. So check for leaking fuel injectors and a leaking fuel pressure regulator. Those are the most common things. Whenever you get something like that, it's almost always you're getting too much fuel when it's hot. And especially if you got a leaky injector, when you shut the car off and it's hot, for a while it drips in, right? But let's say you shut it off and you eat lunch. Drips in, hard to start. But the next day, when you park it at home, you start it up 12, 14 hours later. By then, the fuel that dripped in the engine has evaporated, sitting there for 12 hours. That's why it starts up when it's cold. Diana Carbuff says, my Honda Civic smokes like a diesel. 2001 Honda Civic. 136,000 kilometers. Doesn't smoke on startup, but when I speed up, it drags and it smokes hard like a diesel. All right, what you have is a fuel problem. When they smoke black like a diesel, you're getting too much raw fuel in it. You only got 136,000 kilometers. What's that, like 75,000 miles or something? But it's a 2001. Odds are your fuel injectors are dribbling. When they get old, carbon builds up on them, they dribble, and it doesn't burn right, so black smoke comes out of the back of unburned hydrocarbons. Black smoke is unburned gasoline. Try my friend Bernie's ATS fuel cleaner in Albuquerque. Just Google Albuquerque Bernie ATS cleaner, you can find it. You pour it in a gas tank, fill it up with gas, drive it a couple hundred miles, pray it fixes it, because if it is carboned up, then it'll clean it right up. Now, it's a Honda. I've never seen Honda fuel injectors wear out in that small amount of miles, but I have seen them carbon up, and the cleaner can easily fix it. Now, if it doesn't, go to a mechanic and have it checked. It could be one of the injectors just went bad. Realize they are plastic, a lot of them, and even though it's only got 70-something thousand miles, it is a 23-year-old car, so it could be the plastic cracking and leaking too, but try the cleaner first. Small Town Pop Collector says, Scotty, I got a Honda Element, and they got a lot of pop. When I turn the wheel to the left or the right really hard. Any ideas? All right. Turn it really hard and it pops. There's something going on in your suspension system. Often it's your struts or your strut mount. You turn as far as they go and then they pop. Noises are often hard to pinpoint. So what you do is first jack the car up in there, pull on the wheels, see if you can replicate the noise, right? Let's hope you can. Then you can see, oh, look, the ball joint's popping. Or it is the strut top that's popping. But let's say it only pops when the weight of the car is on it and you're driving. That's called loaded weight. And when it's loaded, it's the only time it makes a noise. Then, watch my video, Finding the Source of Car Noise of Scotty. We got machines, and you can buy one for $80 if you want on Amazon. They make many sound listening machines for cars. And you put the sound listeners all over the car, and then inside you got headphones and a control unit. One I've got's got 8 microphone systems on them, and you keep clicking until you 1 through 8 till you hit the noise the loudest, and you can pinpoint the sound that way. Like I say, you can get these things on Amazon. The latest one I have is made in China. It works fine. It's got 8 wires and sensors. It cost me, I think it was $70. Sam says, 2013 Miata auto transmission, are they good? I would not buy a Mazda Miata unless it was a standard because they're fun little cars. They have smaller engines, not all that much horsepower, and they're a lot more fun to drive. The weakest things in Mazda Miatas are their automatic transmissions. That's the weakest point. That's a 2013. It might be okay, but not great. Now, the new ones are excellent automatic transmissions. They work perfectly fine. It could be okay. I don't like the way they drive. If you're thinking about buying one, see how it drives, right? And then have a mechanic like me check it out. And the mechanic says, okay, the mileage on it isn't that bad. The tranny's in good shape. If you don't mind the way it drives, go ahead and buy it. But you wouldn't want to buy it sight unseen because the trannies are the weakest points of those cars. And I just don't like the way they drive. The old ones, the new ones, they got fancy electronic controls on their automatic transmissions. They're almost like driving a standard. They're zippy and everything. But 2013, you're kind of in no man's land. It might be okay, but I'm not a big fan. All right, Don says I'm looking to get in the first car. What do you think of a Nissan 350Z? What would be the best year, a good price? Not to get ripped off. Okay, well, here's the thing. You're talking about a sports car. Buying a used sports car is like handling dynamite. You have no idea. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? People generally beat the heck out of sports cars, right? I would not advise you to buy one as your first car because generally the heck's beat out of them, they're worn out, you're going to have to spend a lot of money repairing them. Plus, the 350Z is a pretty fast car. Do you really want a really fast car as your first car? You might not know how to drive all that well, you're going to wipe out. It's got too much power. You'd be better off getting like a Toyota Camry or something as a first car and driving around. Nice car's going to last a long time, don't break down much, and they're not as fast as that car is. That's the thing. But if you're set, they're not bad cars. It's just that when they're used, people generally buy those cars to drive like maniacs, then you're buying a car from somebody who drove the heck out of it. It might not be in such good shape. But whatever you do, don't even think about buying one until you have a guy like me, a good mechanic, check it out before you throw your money out. Don't ever buy a used sports car without a mechanic looking at it. Joseph Tink says, Honda CVT or Nissan CVT? Honda by about 1,000 times better than Nissan. Nissan Jatco CVTs are the worst CVT transmissions ever made in the history of mankind. Honda engineers know what they're doing. They make good engines, and now they make a lot better transmissions than they used to. I would not buy one of the early Honda CVTs, but anything they made in the last 4 or 5 years, I wouldn't have any qualms about because Honda does have good engineers, and as I talked earlier, they perfect their stuff over time. They don't just give up and try something else. So as they learn about mistakes, they actually fix them and put that into their design process. Nissan, forget it. That company's always 2 steps away from bankruptcy anyways. Well, you know, the Ford Mavericks are smaller pickup trucks. Maybe you want to go camping. Well, check it out. Look at this. A company called Scout now makes a camper that fits on the back of the Mavericks. You know, it would only be a matter of time. These Mavericks are very popular, and if people want a small camper, hey, make one that goes on the back. Now, this company already makes them for Tacomas and, you know, mid-sized pickup trucks. Now they're making them for the smaller Maverick. It's called the Scout Tuk Tuk, after the Aboriginals. And it fits a Ford Maverick, also fits the Jeep Gladiator. So, if you're thinking about getting a Ford Maverick and you want to turn it into a camper, here's a company that's making stuff for it. As always, when things are popular, the aftermarket rushes after them. That's just the history of cars. And these Mavericks are very popular, so hey, put a little camper on one if you're thinking about getting one. Go camping with the thing. And you don't have to go make one of your own. They already are building them. Well, watch out. The Chinese are making cars right now and sending them over here. Well, guess what? Now they're making airplanes. China's commercial commercial 919 took its first flight, its first commercial flight. Of course, they tried them out before, they put people on the things, right? It went from Shanghai. Now, realize, of course, this is a regular jet. This isn't some electric fantasy motor. It's an actual jet. The Chinese are now making their own. And it was a long haul, went all the way from Shanghai to the Netherlands. So watch out, Boeing. The Chinese are now making commercial airplanes. I met a guy who worked at Boeing last year, and he was telling me all the headaches they had there with problems with labor and management and all kinds of problems they were having. Hey, better watch out. You don't make a good plane. The Chinese will start making them. Then not only will everything we buy for our clothes and shoes and everything be made in China, but we'll be flying in Chinese planes too. What, are they going to do a thing where they say, well, we're only going to have a tax break to people who make planes in the United States, and I suppose the Chinese will start making planes over here too. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.